Hello guys, today I'm going to be going over how to conjugate ER and IR verbs with you. So as you know, we've already conjugated AR verbs, and this is going to follow the same exact rules as AR verbs. We're just changing out the letters. Remember that we know what kind of verb a word is by the last two letters. So whenever we say ER and IR verbs, we're referring to verbs that end in ER and IR. So let's review how we conjugate a verb. So the first step is to take off the ending. So in this case, it would be ER and IR. My example is an AR verb, but it's the same rule. So if it was an ER or an IR, you would take it off and you're left with what's called the stem. And then you're going to add your new ending to the stem. So again, for AR verbs, the O ending is O, so you add that to your stem and you get hablo. So let's review our AR endings. The yo ending is O, tú, as, usted, ella, a, nosotros, as, vosotros, ais, with an accent, and ustedes and ellos, an. So if you're going to conjugate the verb hablar, for example, again, we would take off the AR and be left with our stem, which is habl. You could essentially write that stem in every box because you know it's not going to change for any of the forms. The only part that's changing is the ending. So our yo form would be hablo, tú hablas, usted o ella habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, and ustedes ellos hablan. So let's look at our ER and IR verb endings. There's a reason why we learn ER and IR verbs together. And you can kind of tell that they're going to be similar by looking at the chart, because you have here the one box going across for ER and IR verbs. So that tells us that clearly they're sharing a lot of the same endings. So the yo ending is o, just like AR verbs. That's the only ending that all three verbs share together. Tú is es, es. Usted o ella is a, which is the letter E in English. And then for ER verbs, our nosotros is hemos. For IR, it's imos. For vosotros, ER is es, and IR is is. And again, those both have accents. And then we're back to sharing again with ustedes and ellos being in. So you can see here that ER and IR verbs share all of the same endings except for in the nosotros and vosotros forms. And since you guys are never quizzed or tested on vosotros, you really only have to remember the nosotros forms that are different. So let's put this into practice with an ER verb like vender, which means to sell. It's one of your vocabulary words. The first step to conjugating a verb is to take off the ending. So we would take off ER and we're left with our stem, vend. So you could put vend in all of the boxes because, as I've mentioned before, we already know that vend, V-E-N-D, is going to be the same for every single form. The only part that we're changing is the ending. So our yo ending is O, so vend plus O would be vendo. Tú vendes, usted o ella vende, nosotros vendemos, vosotros vendéis, and ustedes ellos venden. Now for our IR verb, compartir, which means to share. This is another vocabulary word. Again, first step, take off your ending, which is IR. We know that compart is going to be our stem for every single form, and we're just going to be changing the endings. So yo is going to be comparto, tú compartes, usted o ella comparte. Now remember that nosotros and vosotros is where we change from ER verbs. So for nosotros, it's going to be compartimos with an I. Vosotros is going to be compartís. And then we're back to sharing with ER verbs with ustedes and ellos being comparten. So again, just a quick little reminder that for ER and IR verbs, we're going to be sharing all of the same endings except for the endings found in the nosotros and vosotros form. I hope this helped you learn how to conjugate ER and IR verbs, and I hope that you have a great day.